So this is Andrew Cardozo, and I'm talking to David Graham, who was the Member of Parliament from 2015 to 2019 for Laurentides-Labelle. David, first tell us a bit about your riding.
The riding is a large countryside riding, about 20,000 square kilometres, that stretches from Saint-Sever, Saint-Agathe, Mont-Tremblant and Mont-Laurier. And I always said it was the most beautiful riding in the country and we could prove it, because all the other MPs had their cottages there.
Let me take you back to 2015. What inspired you to run in the first place?
Sure, I'd been involved in politics for most of my life. I've been involved in leadership campaigns and local campaigns from my youth. And in 2013, after helping the leadership of Justin Trudeau, I wanted to go a little bit farther. I said, no, if I don't do it, who will? I felt like I had an obligation to go back home and run for my home where I grew up, in the Laurentians.
And that's the area you grew up?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Born and raised where I live today. So.
Yeah. Share with me, 4 years is a long time and a lot happened during that time, but share with me some of the reflections you have.
Sure, it's a really fascinating experience. Like, as you see from where we're meeting here in the Forward 50 conference, I come from a technical background. I was a journalist in IT before I went into politics, and there's a dramatic lack of knowledge of technical issues in government, or in the political side of government, which I thought needed to be addressed. And so I had a lot of opportunity to do that for the last few years. I wish I could have kept going. That's the way politics is. But it was a fascinating learning experience day after day. There's 4 years on paper, but it felt like 25 because so much happened in that time, and I learned so much. I met so many people, and we made real accomplishments, which was helpful. So.
Yeah. What were some of the highlights for you in terms of the accomplishments?
For my riding, the biggest accomplishment was that we brought internet to about half of my riding, which didn't have it before. So it's a deep rural riding.
Yeah.
We got some of the best programs in Connect Innovate were in my riding. We pushed very hard to create it. I created the Rural Caucus to bring the rural MPs together to do that kind of work. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the Indigenous languages in the Chamber, which is work that I was very close to. I'm proud of a lot of things that we've done and would have liked to continue. There's a lot left to do. Like I said, that I was attracted to politics because I like fixing things, and in politics there's no shortage of broken things to fix.
In terms of IT in the high-tech world, what were you involved in?
Prior to being in politics, I was an editor with Linux.com, which was a fairly large website in the time. It was sold at the end of 2008 to the Linux Foundation, which was great. It became part of the open source ecosystem, which was good for the larger community. I was on the board of Software in the Public Interest for a number of years, for 3 mandates. I was part of creating the Open and Free Technology Community, an open source development IRC network in the early 2000s, which still runs today. So I've been very involved all the way through. But then I took that knowledge and I brought it to Parliament. And I think Parliament works best when you have people with lots of different backgrounds working together. And I was able to bring that experience to government operations and estimates when we talk to Shared Services Canada. What's the open source involvement in the government? Onto the copyright review on industry committee, which I served, to bring in that perspective. Because as a journalist in high tech, I was very close to a lot of the copyright issues and the right to repair issues and this kind of thing that aren't discussed nearly enough and have a lot of work to fix. Crown copyright's another big part of that needs to be addressed and fixed. As we're talking about in our data systems, if we produce code in the government here, we need to be able to have it available to the public to use it. Otherwise, we can't even participate in the open source ecosystem.
Do you think MPs understand that world?
No. By and large, no. But there's a whole lot of worlds that most MPs don't understand most worlds, but all of them understand something. And it's because we can all come there together and say, no, this is my expertise, this is your expertise, this is your expertise. That's what the committees are for, that's what the House is for, to bring that all together. If everybody shows up and they're all lawyers, or they're all doctors, or they're all businessmen, we're not really accomplishing anything. We have to have the people from all the different backgrounds working together to say, well, here's my expertise and here's how I can contribute to this issue. So most people don't understand open source software in government. That's fine. I don't understand a whole lot of these issues that they understand. Right. Let's work together and figure out how to move things forward.
Yeah. Do you think our government is far enough along the road to getting ready for the IT world?
Government, by its very nature, is a very large ship with a very small rudder. Right? And so when you're trying to make progress, it's really hard to keep up. And government is by its nature reactive. I always find it ironic that we didn't want to do. I proposed in a speech in 2016 that we put digital clocks in the chamber. And there's the comments.
Put digital
clocks in the chamber.
Okay.
Instead of analog clocks. It tells you how long you have left to speak.
Right.
How long you have to debate. of thing. And people were resisting this. We don't want change. That's common tradition.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of the irony of an institution whose job it is to keep up with the times being stuck in traditions. And perhaps we can think we have to future-proof government in a much better way than we're doing. And I'm hearing at this conference, a lot of the fonctionnaires, a lot of the civil servants understand that and they're trying to get there. But it takes leadership from on high saying, yes, this is how we want to do it. We have to get ahead of the curve instead of always being behind it.
And government is always behind.
Government is always behind, but by its very nature. It's that very large ship with that very small rudder. And there's a lot of people arguing who's in first class and should the ship be afloat and what color is the ship. And not enough people figuring out how to fix the rudder. Right? And so we've got to deal with that issue. Where's the rudder? How do we fix it? How do we steer the ship toward the future?
Yeah. In the election, what were some of the big issues you had to deal with?
I was in rural Quebec, so the issues weren't the ones that I'd like to discuss. It became very much about Bill 21 and whether or not we should permit people who have their religious symbols on to work in the civil service. And it became a values election instead of a substantive one. And there's so many substantive issues I would have much preferred to discuss. And it was a very challenging election. And as you know, I lost it. So.
Yeah. Well, there's new parliament in place. What are your recommendations? What would you like to see them do?
Finish dealing with the things we started. We've talked about getting internet into the whole country in the next 10 years. Rural Canada is absolutely dependent on that. If we don't get everyone online, then the digital divide is the least of our problems. We're creating economic hardship for everyone who's not in the downtown of the city. Public transit in downtown Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, etc. very important. Our public transit in the country is internet, and we don't have it. So we need to be dealing with that. We need to deal with cell phone service. Like 2/3 of my writing to my geography has no cell phone service. How are we going to fix that? Those are the kind of issues that are urgent, have to be dealt with here and now.
So 2/3 of the riding has no cell phone service
by geography, perhaps more than that, because a lot of it is crown land, a lot of it is rural areas. Yeah. But my riding at this time of year empties for the hunt. And there's emergencies that happen. There's no way of contacting. They have whole communities that have no cell phone coverage. They can't dial 911. They can't call their firefighters out. So there's a lot of telecom issues that have to be addressed very, very urgently. And they're not easy to address because we have the spectrum systems where the provider has the licenses instead of the user having the licenses. There's solutions, but we have to get really creative and think out of the box to get there.
Okay. Well, David Graham, thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you for this interview, but also thank you for serving Canada for 4 years. It's a lot of work you MPs put in. And I don't think we recognize it quite enough, so thank you for...
Well, I can tell you my family is happy to have me back, so thank you very much.
Good for you, thank you.